right, here we go.
Today's episode is brought to you by the folks over at SeatGeek, the best and easiest to use ticket platform out there. They take the confusion out of buying tickets using a 0 to 10 scoring system and a green is good, red is bad color rating system so you and your loved ones get the best deal possible. So whether it's going to see our beloved Redlegs at Great American Ballpark, the Bengals over at Paycor, FC Cincinnati, one of the area college teams, or pretty much anything in between, use promo code Riverfront at checkout and receive $20 off your first order. Click the link in the show notes to download the app and get started. That's Riverfront, one word, for $20 off.
What's up, guys? I'm Ryan Roberts. Welcome into another edition of the At Large Bid Bearcats podcast, brought to you as always by Riverfront U. Today we are joined by Cincinnati women's head baseball coach Katrina Merriweather. Coach, welcome into the show.
Thanks, Ryan. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. How's your week going? How was your Christmas? How was your New Year's?
Christmas was good. Spent it with family. New Year's was even better because I went to sleep before midnight hit. Spent some time with my dog since we had some days off. Did a little recruiting. So it was a successful week for sure. So
let's jump right into it. Kind of recap the first half of the season. You guys are 8-5 through 13 games, 0-2 in Big 12 play. Just what are your thoughts so far after half of the season?
I think our non-conference schedule was very tough, and we were able to do some really awesome things in regards to the highest percentage in a few years and beating the SEC opponent for I think it was almost 20 years, like things like that. So definitely some small victories to take away that we knew would be an emphasis for this season as we were transitioning to the Big 12. We have opened up with number 11 Kansas State and number 24 West Virginia, so that was always tons of fun. But I thought that we showed a lot of promise, just not enough consistent play. And when you play teams that are that good, your margin of error is just smaller. And we just have some things that we have to continue to get better at. And hopefully one of those things is all of our players being available and healthy.
So you look at your losses: number 17 Louisville, number 3 Colorado, number 10 NC State, number 11 Kansas State, and number 24 West Virginia. Losses aren't fun. It's obviously, I'm sure, tough for you and your players, but how is this helping with your transition with developing an identity within your program?
I think it's really tough to be what you can't see. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I think our players are learning, and you have to also understand, we're playing 4 freshmen and 2 of them are getting a considerable amount of minutes. So I think everyone's just learning what it looks like, what a top 25 team looks like, how they move the ball, how they defend, how they're on the same page defensively. And these are things, again, that we show spurts of, but we just haven't been consistent enough. So as much as I joke about how this would not have been an ideal schedule that I would have put together, knowing the gauntlet that the Big 12 is, it has been very helpful. And I'm actually thankful for it because one thing I know we go into these games is we're not nervous and we're not scared, and it's not like we haven't been there before. So at least that component is removed.
New staff, a lot of new pieces to this roster. How does it help in terms of practice and development? When you're watching film on these losses, how does it help kind of emphasize what you do want to do in terms of style and maybe different philosophies on both sides of the court?
Well, one thing that I've always believed in and our staff has always worked really hard to do is the way that we rebound the ball. And it doesn't matter what level that is or what the game plan is that your defense is only good as that rebound you get at the end. And when you're having a tough shooting night, that offensive rebound putback is a thing that can give you a little bit of energy and momentum and just an easy bucket. So that's one thing that I feel like we have grown considerably in since we got here, just the mentality in general. I think that we have toughness. I think we have grit. I think the hard part for us is I would argue we have 4 guards and 11 forwards and centers on this team. So when people press us and or we get in foul trouble and or, a guard is out here there for different reasons, it makes it very difficult for us to have some continuity offensively. And I think that right now we put together a couple of game plans that were pretty successful. defensively, and we just couldn't get that ball in the basket the way that we need to. So right now we're spending a lot of time on offense.
3-point shooting has obviously been a struggle through the first 13 games. When you just, look at the statistics, is that something that's easily corrected, or is it just, repetition and trying to find other ways to score the ball?
Ryan, in transparency, I always say that's the Merriweather effect. I just have never really cared for 3-point shots as a player and or a coach. I just don't. We don't hang our hat on it. But I think that if we were able to move the ball a little better, I do think that we could get some wide open looks, and that would increase our percentage a little bit. What we're doing right now is dribbling a lot, trying to create some things instead of just trusting that if we move the ball and get it reversed, then we can get some easier shots. And we're working on it. Again, I think that we have a team that wants to win, that wants to be successful, and sometimes we get superwoman complex, where it's like, I have to do it. I have to make the home run play. I have to make this shot, and really working on just trusting each other, and the decisions that everybody is making. So, yeah, of course, when we make a bunch of threes, we've won a game, a tough game that way. I'm thankful that we were able to make some, but honestly, I don't know that you'll see that 3-point percentage go up much while I'm the coach.
You brought up rebounding. You can't mention rebounding without, Jillian Hayes. Jill's averaging 16 and 10 through the first 2 Big 12 games. How important was it to get her back in the fold this year and have her completely bought in to help with this transition?
Yeah, the 7 returners that we inherited have been the core of this team. They have shown tremendous leadership. They have worked hard. They have been selfless, because there's been some changes in some roles that they were used to in the previous years. They worked really hard to get on the same page with us and to then embrace the newcomers and to get them on the same page as well. Jill is just one of those talents. It doesn't matter what league you play in. Like, she's going to be able to do what Jill does. She's strong. She's tough mentally and physically. She's aggressive. And sometimes that overshadows how skilled she is. The way she finishes at the rim, her free throw percentage is great. She's made threes this year. She's made some pull-ups off the dribble, so she's done a little bit of everything for us this year. And she's going to need to keep doing that as we keep moving to get everybody on the same page.
So during this process, obviously Cincinnati's not new to you, but new environment for different players and coaches. What's been the most difficult process within this transition?
It really has been great professionally. I think that we have a tremendous amount of support from our administration, everything that we've gone to and we've been able to work through. We've got great facilities, and the people around here are just awesome. It's just always going to be moving. Picking up and moving is always going to be the toughest thing. Still have a house back in Memphis that's on the market right now. And so I've had these 2 100-pound labs. So you're moving them around and trying to find a house that you're comfortable in and a backyard that they can go run and play in because they're so active. So really the transition from a professional standpoint has been great. And I'll even add, personally, being this close to my family has been phenomenal. My parents come and watch me and bring us dogs when we go out of town. So that's a relief, and that's something that I was able to have the last couple of years. So, there's some stuff that has been, I can't wait till we get settled. But for the most part, it's been awesome.
So let's talk recruiting a little bit. You've got the Jordan logo here on your hoodie there.
Yes.
What type of impact has that had on recruiting as well as the transition to the Big 12?
I think it helps. Jordan is Jordan, and he's always going to be Jordan. It doesn't matter who your favorite is. Everybody knows and recognizes the logo. For us, and when I was here in the 90s, the men were Jordan. So I think that what came along with them was, again, a toughness and a grit where you just played basketball a certain way. So I know people see the logo and it's cool and the gear and all that, but what it brings back for me is that mentality, that we're going to be the hardest working, toughest team that we can be day in and day out so that we can perform that way when games come up. And we know it's a process, but I do think that spirit is looming, around here, and we're doing everything we can to get there.
Transfer portal, NIL, recruiting is completely different these days. How have you seen the dynamics within recruiting change from just 10 years ago to where we are today?
Well, 10 years ago, I was a recruiting coordinator, and 10 years before that, I should say maybe five to seven, we were cutting out newspaper articles, pasting them to pieces of paper and mailing them out. And then 10 years ago, it got a little more technical than that with some Photoshop and things of that nature. Now the job that Abby Jum does and has is unbelievable. We're fortunate because she's so creative. They're so innovative, and she's always looking for ways for us to be different and to separate ourselves. So just the communication has been different. Like 20 years ago, it was one phone call a week, and now it's text messages, FaceTime. Like technology has boomed like crazy, and I think that's probably the biggest change over the last 10 plus years. NIL, I think, is however people want to look at it. I'm some people that handle it differently than others. And the way that we look at it is that if you would like to make money off of your name, image, and likeness, there's going to take some work on your end in order for you to build your brand and in order for you to then get your brand out there for people to be interested in you. So the portal, same thing. It's all about how you use it. We got in the portal a little when we got here, but there were players that we knew and that we had recruited before, or even coached before. So that's how we do it. Who knows how it's going to be year to year, so you can say you do it this way now, but I think that depending on how well you do, it can dictate how often you get in the portal and what you do with that and NIL all collectively together.
So when you're out recruiting, what sort of philosophy do you have within recruiting? Are you recruiting to a style? Like some coaches, they feel like they can teach offense or they can teach defense, so they're recruiting the best of whatever that person does. Do you have a philosophy with what you're looking for?
We take a lot of pride in development. My coaches are really good at it. I basically say they coach the pieces and then bring together for me to coach the whole, because they enjoy the film, the connectivity, the spending time, the just getting in the gym with them a lot. So I don't get to do that as much as I used to as a head coach, but it's okay. It keeps the staff really invested in what we're doing. And I think it's helpful so that they don't have to hear my voice a lot. They get used to hearing multiple people. So yeah, I just would rather find kids that want to be Bearcats and that have a motor. And I think if we do those two things, then we'll develop them in the skill that they have, and not just on the floor, but in the classroom and as people. And I think that that's probably what has led us to be successful up until now, is that we're always going to treat them like they're people and not just basketball players.
So you've got a couple players on your roster that are from within the tri-state area, but Reagan Jackson, she's a Texas girl. Chloe Mann is from Texas in the 2024 class. How does having a player like Chloe Mann, who's consensus top 40, top 30 in the country, help with you expanding your recruiting base?
Yeah, I think it helps tremendously. And we talk about the 24 and 25 class just being the belief group, right? We know that there's going to be some stairs we have to climb here. And the thing about Chloe was we offered her at our previous place and then got here and evaluated our roster a little bit. And it took me a little longer, to pick up the phone and call her. But when I saw her, it reminded me that she was exactly what we needed. She plays with a chip on her shoulder. She is explosive. She's athletic. She's a 3-level scorer. She loves to defend. She gets down in a stance and she takes pride in deflections and steal and, all these different things. And honestly, she just has a Bearcat mentality. And those are the type of players that we're looking for. And so I believe that, under the tutelage of Ashley Barlow, that she'll be able to really get in the gym and grow her game and also continue to develop her IQ in the point guard position. And I think she's going to be an impact for us right away.
Yeah, I'll be in Dallas next weekend for the men's game at Baylor. So I'm going to check out Chloe that Friday night. They've got a home game. So I'm going to get up there to Duncanville and try to get
I
a look
love
at
it.
her firsthand. So definitely looking forward to that.
Yeah, you're gonna see a lot of speed. That's for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, I see her
You
in
know,
videos.
yeah, and I'll tell you this something else really cool about her. She's such a willing passer.
Mm-hmm.
Usually you get players with that type of athleticism and that ability to score, and they can kind of get caught up in their own skill set, and that's not her either. Like she's capable and willing to distribute. So again, just her pace is going to be exactly what we need to get that dribble drive going.
So when you look at your history with Cincinnati and you look at, Abby Jump, Abby Owens, several others on your staff, how much easier does it make recruiting when you're selling something that not only you believe in because it's your product, but also you have a passion for the city of Cincinnati and the program?
No, I think it helps. I think that a lot of the time I say I've chosen this place twice, and the reality is that when things are meant to be, they're just meant to be because they had to choose me first. So I've chosen Cincinnati back 2 different times, so it makes it difficult for me to understand why somebody else wouldn't. I'll give you that. But I think that having people that are just from this area understand, like you said, Northern Kentucky,
Mm-hmm.
Ohio, Indiana. We've always had Indiana kids on this team, not just myself, but several of my teammates, and then players after me that played in my dad's program. Even just it continued to be a pipeline, and I think that what helps here is we do have a community that embraces basketball. And so when we start looking up on weekends, especially, and we see this lower bowl filling up, we're thinking, here we go. We're building just one game at a time, one showing at a
Mm-hmm.
time. That we're going to play with some passion and heart, and that'll be enough for people to show up and support us.
All right, Coach, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. Your number
Oh,
one target and the next recruiting class. Give me your best recruiting pitch.
we have something special that's brewing here in Cincinnati. And I think that you're going to love all the things that we have, but more importantly, you're going to love the people that are going to be here to guide you and grow you and develop you every single day. And that starts with administration on down to our managers. And there's just no better time to be a Bearcat than now. So when I make it happen.
All right, I'm ready. I'm ready to join.
Ready? There we
Yeah,
go.
I'm ready.
I take commitments on podcasts too. So we
Okay,
can do.
okay.
Yeah.
So let's pivot a little bit here. Wes Miller has the movement. You have the sisterhood. What does the sisterhood mean to you as well as your program?
It means the connectivity that we have once we joined on this journey together, and it doesn't end just because you graduate or you leave. We've had kids who have transferred out because it was just best, whether they wanted to play more or they wanted to be closer to home or whatever the case may be, and we still stay in contact with a lot of those kids.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it takes a year or two, the separation in order for them to realize that we're going to be here no matter what, whether that's recommendation letters or you want to celebrate that you got into grad school or you're getting married or having kids. It doesn't matter. We have kids coming around here from Wright State. We have kids coming to see us from Memphis. And it's just always going to be like that. I talk about how we're in the business of women. We want to grow great leaders. We want to be a part of their journey. We want them to know that they just always have a family here, no matter what happens. And we know sometimes that there's disagreements and we see things differently, but that doesn't mean that we're not here to support you through all the things that you go through. So hopefully anybody who's ever played for us knows that they can always reach out and call back or text or let us know what's going on with them, and that we'll be there for them.
I think a lot of times people, kind of forget about the off the court personal side of things. What are some of the life lessons that you're trying to instill and values that you're trying to instill in your players when they're under your tutelage?
Well, it's really we break it down into 5 things. We break it down into financial literacy, where we want them to be aware of their credit score, credit report, how they manage their money, budgets. The reality is that we were eating ramen noodles and these kids are eating lobster.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure that while we're wearing our team issue shoes and they have the ability to go buy all these Jordans, that we're having conversations about buying stock in Nike as well, and not just buying things that are not going to be worth anything later.
Yeah.
And I should say that I would get shots fired saying that Jordans won't be worth anything later with my staff, because to them, it's not just what you want to wear, it's an investment. So I have to retract that. So we won't go with Jordans, but things that you purchase that will not be valued later. We talk about being a great teammate and a good person, and that's in your relationships, that's in your group work with school, that's not just with this team. And then later, as you become a professional, being able to be a great teammate to your coworkers as well. We talk about life insurance, you name it, health insurance, social media and the impact that has. But Eddie, who does our NIL stuff, does a tremendous job with that. We don't have to touch it much. And then last but not least, just having some faith. You gotta believe in something, and when things are tough, rough, you gotta have something that you lean on in order to keep your spirits up and high. So those are the main things that we talk about, and we try to leave it open for them to tell us what they want to talk about sometimes. But when they leave here, we just want them to be prepared to be good people, good citizens, and be productive in society.
Let's finish on some fun things. What's your favorite memory as a player and also as a coach?
Yeah, my favorite memory as a player here.
Yep.
Okay. Just want to make sure we're not going all the way back to high schools. We got some good memories there too. My favorite memory here is always going to be 1999 and watching Cincinnati pop up on TV that we were going to NCAA tournament. That's always going to be my favorite one. I don't know that any other feeling can really top that.
Yeah. What about as throughout your professional career? What's one of your favorite moments throughout that time?
Oh, it has to be outside of being named the head coach here. The second 1A, 1B, or second, however you want to put it, it has to be in the first round game in the NCAA tournament in 2021. Whereas we beat Arkansas as a 4 seed and we were a 13 seed. Yeah, that's just different. That just feels different. So it was good stuff.
So you have a lot of accolades throughout your career. How did coaching with the national team this past summer help with your professional growth?
Well, one, you get exposed to USA Basketball, which is a machine in itself. The people that work there, their professionalism, the way that they organize everything from A to Z. And you walk in, you never have any questions, you never need anything, because as soon as you walk in, you have all the information and everything that you could need in order to be successful there as a coach. Then you get around other big time coaches, right? Like Aaron and Cammie, South Dakota State and Washington State have had tremendous success. So as we're game planning and listening and even scouting, which is hilarious because none of us have really scouted in years, then you kind of are able to remember what your staff is doing. So as an assistant coach in that experience, of course, I've done all those jobs, but it's been a while. But it just reminded me, this is what they do, like for 3 straight months. It's like scouting reports. So it just reminds you to be conscious about the amount of effort that your staff is giving. And then just being around those high-level players. The mentality a lot of the time is just different. The work ethic is different. They just have a different just grit about them. And then when you're playing for your country, I think just some different and higher level things come out in that type of environment, because it's the gold medal standard with USA Basketball. So all those things put together is why it's such a phenomenal experience.
So looking at that experience, how have you kind of translated that to what you're doing currently at Cincinnati? And what is the one thing you guys have to do the rest of the season to continue to be successful?
Well, I'll admit this because this is something that I talked to the team about. I came back really excited about some offensive stuff because I clearly was learning, and not just learning from Cammie and Aaron, but also learning as we were playing other countries. Is everyone just has a different style of basketball.
Right, yeah.
And sometimes you can come back and be really eager about some of that stuff and overcomplicate some things. So I had to, after the summer, we had to minimize some of our actions because you just can't squeeze all of that into 2 weeks in the summer. Um, so yeah, I think that just broadening my perspective offensively is what I came back with more than anything, being willing to
Mm.
see more options more than just a dribble drive. And I think that was for sure, that's the biggest takeaway.
Lastly, and then we'll get you out of here. I've kept you way longer than I should have. Do you have a
Don't worry.
favorite, any favorite former Bearcats on the men's or women's side?
Oh, this you're trying to get me in trouble.
Hey,
Because the alum
I didn't ask you about Abby and Abby with the the fashion. So
yeah, please don't. Please don't. They got into a really tough game of sevens the other day. And I'm not going to tell you who won because we had to deal with attitudes for the rest of the night.
I believe it.
Yeah, it's just the competitive level in this space is very, very high. Um, so yeah, favorite. I'm just gonna go. I gotta just go with Lori Pirtle. Because for us, she was the person that exuded what it meant to be a Bearcat, what it meant to do things with purpose and with excellence, and ultimately, she's responsible for bringing all of us together. And so when we have alumni day like we did a few weeks back, and I got to see my teammates and then the players that came before us and after us, a lot of them were either recruited by her, coached by her. And I think that she's just at the core of everything women's basketball. And I'm definitely not answering that men's basketball question because there's potential for a lot of drama there. So I'm going to avoid it. We're going to go with Lori Pirtle.
All right, Coach. We'll let you off the hook on this one.
Thank you.
Well, we definitely appreciate you coming on today. I know you've got a busy schedule. You guys have Oklahoma on Saturday, so I'm sure you guys are getting into game prep and all of that. So I appreciate you taking time out of your day.
No, thank you. It was a good time, and I'll come back anytime you like to have me.
That sounds good to me.
All right. Thank you.